You know, if I destroy her in the debate, they'll say, Trump suffered a humiliating defeat tonight, no matter what. Are you ready, Madam Vice President?
Ready.
The upcoming debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump on the 10th of September, Tuesday, is poised to be a pivotal moment in a tightly contested presidential race. As both candidates prepare for their first direct confrontation, the stakes are high, particularly for Harris, who has seen her initial momentum wane in recent polls. Recent polls seem to suggest that Harris may have lost some of her initial momentum after securing the Democratic Party's nomination, while Trump's support, on the other hand, has remained relatively steady. This is the first and perhaps only national confrontation between both candidates on an open debate stage. The debate will be broadcast by ABC News, which is one of America's top 3 networks. The importance of the debate: it is crucial for both candidates. For Trump, it offers a platform to reinforce his appeal and defend his record, while at the same time capitalizing on what has been the recent polling struggles of Kamala Harris, his rival. Conversely, Harris needs to leverage this opportunity to solidify her position and also to counter Trump effectively. Recent polling indicates a dead heat, Trump leading Harris by 48 to 47% in a key national survey, suggesting that the race is neck and neck as election day approaches. That poll, the recent New York Times Siena College poll, is the first poll nationally since both candidates solidified their nominations, and it has put Trump ahead. Most other polls have shown Trump trailing Kamala Harris nationally, even though he may be ahead in some of the swing states. In most of the polls up until now, Harris was leading Trump nationally. But now, Trump leads Harris by a single percentage point nationally, which is very much within the margin of error.
She's right now practicing. You know that? She's in Pennsylvania, and she's practicing for the debate. She's locked herself in her room. She's got a lot to learn. She's locked herself in a room, and they have one problem. You know what the problem is? They have MAGA people outside screaming, "We love Trump, we love Trump, we love Trump," and they can't focus. Can you imagine?
Polling trends and Pennsylvania's role. In fact, Harris's campaign has faced challenges as her support appears to be declining, particularly among critical demographics like Latino voters and also in some cases white voters, both college educated and non-college educated. In fact, in that same poll, the New York Times Siena College poll, it highlights that about a third of voters want to know more about Harris. The compared figure for Trump, or people who want to get to know Trump more, is less than 10%. What this signals is a potential vulnerability in the Harris campaign. Kamala Harris is still relatively an unknown commodity, having spent the last 4 years in the shadow of Joe Biden. She even received the nomination quite late and quite surprisingly, only because Biden bowed out of the race back in July. So the race's outcome itself may hinge on about half a dozen battleground states, but none more important than Pennsylvania, where both candidates are focusing their campaign rallies and also throwing in millions of dollars. Harris is actively campaigning in Pennsylvania. She recognizes the significance of this swing state. It's the biggest of all the swing states, with 20 electoral college votes that could literally determine which way this election goes. If she has to win the election, she has to win the so-called Rust Belt states, which includes Pennsylvania, in addition to Wisconsin and Michigan.
What's the one thing you want to really get across to them?
Well, there's a lot, but look, it's time to turn the page on the divisiveness. It's time to bring our country together, chart a new way forward.
Now, presidential debates have long been a cornerstone of American electoral politics. It shapes public perception. It has a direct influence on the election outcome. So some of the notable debates in the past include the Nixon versus Kennedy one in 1960. This debate marked the first televised presidential debate in the history of US presidential elections. John F. Kennedy and his poised demeanor was a stark contrast with Richard Nixon's visible discomfort, which significantly impacted public opinion in that race. There is one point in the debate where Nixon can be seen profusely sweating, which is a sign of nervousness, which is not quite a presidential quality. Reagan versus Carter in 1980. Ronald Reagan's performance solidified his image as a capable leader, even though he was seen as an outsider, and that debate helped him secure his decisive victory over then incumbent President Jimmy Carter. Reagan had a certain earthliness and a certain relatability which his opponent Carter did not have. Clinton versus Bush in 1992. This debate highlighted the importance of economic issues as Clinton was able to effectively communicate his economic vision amidst a struggling economy in the US at that time. In fact, that debate is known for Clinton's famous line, "It's the economy, stupid," which captured the prevailing mood in America at that time, which is that ordinary Americans were struggling even though America had just won the Gulf War and President Bush at that time, was leading the polls. Obama versus McCain in 2008. Barack Obama was a new candidate, inexperienced candidate, but he managed to capture the imagination of the American people, and he carried that through in the debate with a very calm and collected approach, and that resonated with voters. But in his own words, he was not much of a debater. He was a very poor debater. But he did manage to hold his own against a much more accomplished John McCain. And that was good enough to see Obama through in November of 2008. Hillary versus Trump in 2016. It was a highly contentious debate which showcased the extreme stark contrast, both in personality and in policy, between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Trump had an unorthodox style of debating, and that drew significant attention. It was also just a few days after the infamous Access Hollywood tapes came out, in which Trump was heard saying some of the most disgusting things about women, but Hillary Clinton was simply not able to put him on the mat during the debate. On the contrary, Trump voters came away feeling that Hillary was lying. She was not able to fully explain her actions in Benghazi in Libya as Secretary of State. So the upcoming debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is expected to follow through in this tradition of high stakes and intense scrutiny, with both candidates aiming to sway undecided voters and at the same time reinforce their respective voter bases. As the debate approaches, both candidates are preparing for this critical moment which could literally shape the rest of the trajectory of this election. With Harris needing to regain momentum and Trump hoping to consolidate his support base, the outcome of this debate could be decisive in what is easily the most closely contested race for the White House that we have seen in decades. Normally in presidential contests, there are at least 3 debates to give voters a chance to better get to know the candidates. But this year, with all the drama of Joe Biden pulling out and both Trump and Harris's campaigns struggling to agree on the terms of the debate, there is most likely going to be only one debate, the one that is being hosted this week by the American Broadcasting Corporation. Kamala Harris will particularly be wary of the fact that the last debate between Biden and Trump, which was hosted by CNN back in June, was what knocked out Biden out of the race. The last thing that Kamala Harris wants is to meet the same fate as Joe Biden. She needs to have a superior debate night to be able to take the fight to Trump's camp. Her campaign has sought to frame this debate as one between a prosecutor and a felon, but Trump's legal battles don't seem to have dampened the enthusiasm of his MAGA base. The historical significance of presidential debates underscores the importance of the one that's happening this week, making it a must-watch for Americans and indeed for the rest of the world. This is perhaps their last and only chance to make up their minds on who to vote for in November.